just want to say I really like what you do.
Woo! What an ending to Spider-Man No Way Home, right? Could not have ended any other way. Wait, what's that? It almost did? Of course it did. Spider-Man No Way Home pulled off the greatest trick in movies. It lived up to expectations. Not only that, but it resolved not just this Spider-Man story, but the Spider-Man stories from the previous two franchises, complete with signature villains and just, it was so good.
Happens all the time, man. They're falling out of the skies like flies.
But this was not the first draft. We almost got a very different ending according to acclaimed leaks, so let's dive in.
I don't know, it's probably nothing.
The Spider-Verse isn't just for animation anymore, as the Marvel Multiverse brought together everyone who's played Spider-Man in a movie, along with most of their villains in a battle royale of nostalgia and action, and a seriously terrifying Willem Dafoe. That grin? Oh yeah, chills.
I'm sorry, fellas, but I'm not up to it.
With the whole movie revolving around Peter trying to put his secret identity genie back in that bottle, the tragic ending seemed inevitable. But turns out, according to a proposed leak that outlined some of the key scenes that ended up on the cutting room floor, some were ones that we already knew about in one form or another. Tom's brother Harry shot a scene as a miner who gets caught up in some spider webbing before a Mysterio supporter throws some green paint on him. Actor Lexi Rabe, who played the adorable Morgan, I love you 3000 Stark, mentioned on Instagram that she had a scene that didn't make the cut while at the red carpet event. According to the leak, that would have been Morgan expressing support for Spidey as Stark Industries' involvement in Peter's vigilantism came out. The scene from the trailer we did not get of Wong telling Doctor Strange in no uncertain terms not to cast that spell also was listed, but that's not the most interesting thing to happen to Doctor Strange and that spell. As the multiverse threatened to descend on Earth's 19,999's New York, the only way to stop the city from becoming the all-star center of the Spider-Verse was to remove any knowledge of Peter Parker at all, since the multiverse had become far, far too eager to find Peter Parker.
Oh boy, it doesn't get much crazier than that.
The alternate ending put forth in the leaks suggests that there was a version of the movie, we'll call it Earth 19,998, where Doctor Strange did not cast that spell. The world went on knowing that Peter Parker was Spider-Man. Instead, the redemption and return of the villains was enough, and Peter had to continue to deal with the consequences of Mysterio's reveal. But it's still a Spider-Man story, and you cannot have a victory without a cost. In this version of the ending, Peter graduates high school but decides to break up with MJ and distance himself from his lifelong friend Ned in order to protect them from the blowback of his double life. That ending has some big ramifications for our Earth 19,998. Some of those ramifications we have a model for, going all the way back to the first time Spider-Man swung into theaters. In the Tobey Maguire Sam Raimi Spider-Man, Peter decides to distance himself from the love of his life MJ because he doesn't know how to live three lives. His, Spider-Man's, and the one he shares with MJ. Of course, it doesn't take, and MJ is thrust into the middle of Spidey's troubles anyway. Similarly, Andrew Garfield's Peter Parker was forced to put some distance between him and Gwen Stacy as a promise to her dying father in the first movie. You guessed it though, that doesn't hold. Unfortunately for Gwen, she pays the ultimate price. There's one more deleted scene that would have helped the MCU's Peter decide to push his love away, despite it not working for any of his counterparts. That would be the other two Spider-Men stressing that, of all, the Green Goblin is the worst threat both of them faced and that he always goes after loved ones. That's pretty high stakes for Peter, as he has an ever-diminishing circle of loved ones to protect. That's some familiar territory for Peter Parker, as his love life in the comics has always been a balancing act of protecting the city and protecting the ones he loves, and not always succeeding at either one. But it does leave Peter with some lifelines to his fellow Avengers and to Happy Hogan, and a ringing endorsement for Morgan Stark herself. Who is gonna go against the Love You 3000 girl, huh? Heartless monsters who don't like puppies. That's who. Unfortunately, therein lies the rub. In some ways, the MCU version of Spider-Man has skipped ahead in the book. While he's still the teenage science whiz who got bit by a spider and gained superpowers, Peter had a long road towards acceptance, joining the Avengers, and establishing his own tech company. The MCU's Peter was poor, but he had Happy Hogan on speed dial, willing to fly to the Netherlands, pick Peter up, and helping him craft a new tech suit. What we skip is the bulk of Spider-Man's story where he struggles to make ends meet, selling photos of his heroics to get by because superheroing makes keeping a regular job and relationship too hard.
That's ironic. Wait, seriously?
Plus, you know, it's an anonymous post on 4chan, so there's that. Regardless of which ending, with the casting of Aaron Taylor Johnson as the famed hunter, we are one step closer to watching someone bathe in spiders. Craven really lost it in that story. With over $1 billion at the box office in just a week, we are not done with Spider-Man. With the ending that Doctor Strange gave us, Sony and the MCU finally get that Spider-Man. No Stark Tech, no phone calls that will result in a brand new tech suit. Just the classic red and blue and an optimistic desire to do right by everyone. The best he can do to live up to this is to listen to his aunt's advice regarding power and responsibility.